All right, let's head to Abuja now. Mark, where?
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. We are turning our attention now to another matter, which is very related to the elections, which is looking at how the other parties, 73 presidential candidates contested in these last elections, in the presidential elections, which happened on the 23rd of February. How did 71 others, apart from the APC and PDP, fare? And to talk about this with me is Mr. Yunusa Tanko, who is the presidential candidate of the National Conscience Party. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians.
Good morning. Now, a number of people have looked at how the other parties fared. I don't know if you saw, there were a lot of memes out there, but we'll talk about that later. But some people have referred, they have taken the pains to look through the figures garnered by the other political parties, and they didn't seem to have done very well. Your party, for instance, was said to have come 40th. Is that right? 40th
I didn't
position.
look at the figure, but I know that we come a little bit far within that range.
Yes. Let me quickly see if I can get the figures out now. I think NCP eventually polled 3,799.
Exactly.
That was all you were able to garner from a population versus voters population of about 82 million. What do you think was responsible for that sort of show?
Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate the Nigerian people for even voting for us to get that particular number of 3,000. 3,000. Look, those votes were courageous votes. Those votes were votes that comes from the inner minds of Nigerians who do not even care, but that is the candidate in which they prefer as their own candidate. And I'm happy. I thank God for it. Because some other persons who have been bought by money and been intimidated and probably use sentiment, religion, and tribal in order to vote for a certain candidate or the other. But these people, even though they know that their vote is channeled towards, may not be able to give me the vote that will win, but to them, they have casted that vote to show this is where their heart is. And that is encouraging for all other candidates who got any vote. One vote is very, very important. So I appreciate, but the most of the things that are responsible for all of these things, as regard to finance, the resources to be able to go out and campaign, place billboard, actually mobilize your agent and members to go out and vote. Some of them must have left their actual initial voting center to another place entirely to be able to get to those places. I remember even in Kaduna, the governor had to use buses to ferry some people to certain area to go and vote. We don't have such resources. And that creates a lot of serious problem for most of the other political parties. It wasn't that probably we didn't do well. We were able to do what we can do within our limited resources.
Yeah, well, the voters must be commended. I mean, because there was also this debate about, oh, I don't want to waste my vote. And, you know, I think that debate is another thing worth probing in the sense that some people believe that the only viable options that they can ever vote for are the two major political parties. Some other people were of the stance that it was not a waste of vote. It was whoever it was that they felt could deliver was who was going to get their vote. And I think that those kind of votes need to be commended. However, when we're looking at a population of 82 million, because now we understand that it's between 84 and 82 million. INEC still hasn't told us just how many people registered to vote in these elections. When you look at that figure and you see that put together, of the 73 presidential candidates, 71 of them did not get up to 1 million put together. It is very worrisome. And whether or not it is, these candidates are really giving Nigerians another choice, or are they just there to add up to the numbers and waste resources?
Not at all. You see, like we are supporters of multi-democratic system. And as we go along in our democratic process, it is very important that we have more choices in this nature. Now, the campaign really is where the problem is. And the regard to actually getting the message across and the people being convinced as regard to alternative being provided for them. Now, let us look at the issues of how this vote really goes. When you look at the people in power, they use materials and resources, state government resources, to continue to propagate their own ideology and beliefs, and then instill this particular figure of we have been able to do it, we can't do it again. If you look backwards, some years ago, some of the people who won election now couldn't have done what they have done because they don't have the resources. They have to parley with some elements who have taken Nigerian resources from certain level and then parley with them so that they can promote their own candidature. This is where we have a lot of problems. And some of us who have not gathered that kind of resources can be able to go into the market to really go and then, propagate ideas. Just like as I usually say, even if it's a bend-down market, that's where you buy second-hand goods. Those that have the money in their hands are the ones that will take the best of goods. And so money politics has bedeviled our society to a point that even when you propose ideas and ideology, people don't see it as something like, okay, this is the best choice. But yet, they will be the one that will be clamoring that we needed a change, we needed something new, we need a new. But we have presented ourselves. That is the best we can do.
Yeah, but I mean, you are not a first-time contender.
I am.
This is not your first time running as presidential
This is my first
candidate.
time.
Is it?
Yes, I ran as a vice presidential candidate to Dele Momodu twice. But this is my first time of running as a president.
I see. Okay, because I do know that you have been with the NCP for quite a while.
Yes, I am.
And it's a good thing you have been consistent in that regard.
Yes.
However, I mean, you are aware of the role of money politics. If
Yes.
you're aware of the role of money politics and you know just how difficult it is to get to the people without money, shouldn't you be coming up with ingenious manners to see how you can, beat say the bigger parties who are spending a lot of money?
We try to do something like that. We try to be creative in terms of generating resources and finances for our party. But I must tell you this, it's been difficult even for the Nigerian people who want to. The party is actually a masses-based political party, talking about artisans, farmers, those who are the low-trodden of the society.
Yeah, but how come these masses are not voting for the party?
Well, majority of them that can vote are the ones that were able to vote. Some of them get asway with money, just like as I told you. 1,000 naira means a lot to some certain people now. 1,000, even 500 naira, because of the level of hunger in the society. Even though that is where now, that's why I keep credit to those who voted for us. They voted for us out of personal conviction that this is where their heart is.
But are you also being realistic? When you look at the fact that you have 73 candidates, yes, 2 of them are major, but 71 on other candidates, are these other third forces, so to speak? Are members of the third force, if I can call them that, being realistic with the manner of options that they're presenting to Nigerians? Well,
realism is, it can be relative in certain ways. The fact that you do not believe in either A or B makes you different. And that means you are giving an option for Nigerians. If you continue on that trend, that will take you to a certain level. But if you refuse and keep quiet, you'll be kind of subsumed into the other ideology that you do not believe in. If you see the NCP, we sometimes go on alliance if we feel we have no strength in certain areas, but based on a program that is channeled towards helping the masses. That is the only kind of a caveat that we put into it. So we need to keep on encouraging Nigerians that they have a chance to run for election in different ways so that they can present themselves. It doesn't mean that you must go into where it is established, that people have known. You must give an opportunity to different options. Yeah, but and the way you go continuously, one day you will get there.
It's surprising though, I mean, because even these elections, you would say that some candidates were visible. So for instance, you had the likes of the candidates of the YPP, Professor Kingsley Moghalu, you had the likes of Omoyele Sowore, you also had people like Fela Durotoye, for instance, who were all presidential candidates, who seemed to have a little more media presence. You could see their posters, their campaign posters here and there. At least I saw some in Abuja here. And you would have thought that they would have done better. I'm not asking you to, I'm asking you to be dispassionate now.
Yes, of course.
You would have thought that they would have done better in terms of the number of votes that they would have garnered. But even that, even despite their publicity, even let's even say they did their publicity only here in Abuja, we didn't quite see the result that should have been expected of those parties. Do you think the Nigerians are really ready for this alternatives, so to speak?
The question will have been, had it been that they didn't contest, will Nigerians know that they have qualities, they have quality human beings in that regard? No. So the ability to contest provided them the opportunity and provided Nigerians the opportunity to know that, look, we should start looking elsewhere. And there are people who have that capacity, and they have showcased and presented themselves. Like many of us, many Nigerians wouldn't have known of Mogalu or even expecting that probably Showore will contest, even expecting me to contest or any other person that has contested. This is an opportunity that has been presented to us in Nigeria because as a multi-party democratic system, it is an opportunity for us to be able to start picking some new individuals who have the capacity to lead this country. We cannot continue to go into the old past, and that is where we find ourselves today. So for me, they have made a lot of impact by presenting themselves and presenting themselves to Nigerians, and Nigerians have seen their quality, and then it's the preparatory ground for the future.
I'm not taking away from the impact that they have made by presenting themselves. I'm looking at the votes that they were able to garner from the elections. You don't think that the figures that we saw, well, that they were able to get in terms of votes was a little disappointing?
No, I don't see it as being disappointing. It's encouraging. Because if Adebile didn't get a vote at all, that would have been more problematic for me. But for Nigerians to have thought of voting for them in any way, somebody called me. He said, yes, he said, you know, my vote may not propel you to be the president of the, but I believe in you and my vote is going for you. And that's where I'm voting. That is encouraging. I didn't mean that we didn't get it at all. Somebody tell you, no, go and sit down, we don't need you. It dampens your morale. It not give you didn't give Nigerians the opportunity again to see that we have capacity in certain quarters. So for the fact that Nigerians came out and vote for all of us in certain way, honestly, we must commend them and we are very grateful and we thank them. And then this is an opportunity that, look, we have a greater opportunity in 2013,
but
2023.
You are not just there to present yourself. I mean, you're there to also ensure that you win the elections.
Of course. Winning starts by presenting yourself. You can't win from your backyard now contesting an election. You have to present yourself to the people so that they can see that there's a viable option in you. And if they vote for you, fine and good. And the vote, as the way it goes, it kind of promoting you and encouraging you to do more so that you can be able to get to that particular destination.
I'm sure that you are aware of this conversation around whether or not we should have so many political parties. People think that they're making the process very cumbersome. They think that they make, in fact, they also think that the smaller parties give INEC a lot more headache than even the big parties. You know, you have all of these complaints trailing the process, and people think perhaps we should begin to streamline the number of presidential candidates that we have. Maybe not all political parties should present candidates. Perhaps there should be guidelines as to who and who should qualify to present candidates. Do you agree with them?
No, I don't. And we need to identify the problem. When you look at those who are claiming to be in the forefront of this electioneering, where did they start from? They start from somewhere. They started as small political parties, some of them, before they get to this particular level. And besides, we are not really addressing the issue from the root. The problem is some people have an opportunity and they capitalize on that opportunity using the state resources. If we are to be put on the same playing ground, let's assume, for example, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria does not use state resources. I'm not saying that he's using state resources. What I mean, like probably using the media and all, probably paraphernalia of government, you know, going on the motorcade and all. For example, in Brazil, when Lula da Silva was running, he was charged for using the presidential jet to go for a party meeting, and he has to pay. But here in Nigeria, you are allowed to use government resources, even when you are in power, to campaign against opposition. It is not fair. It is not fair. So these are the basic things. And when you allow people to have uncurtailed access to resources from in and outside, people, of course, have undue advantage over others. And that was the reason why we are saying that, okay, why don't you give certain seeded money to all the political parties accordingly so that they too can campaign. And I'm telling you, if you do that, the result will be different. The result will be different. Even in developed countries like
this. Who should give party money to parties to campaign?
Basically, I said government resources. If you can't allow people to take, why won't you give it to others? If you allow them to take, why don't you give it to others? Because it's the same money that it's the same taxpayers' money that belongs to all of us. But some people have an advantage over it than others. and you expect us to go to the same market and canvass for vote, it's not possible.
Yeah, but one would have thought that when you're coming, you would at least come with some popularity, some following to propel yourself to be able to even move forward. So, for instance, now, we know that before President Buhari became president, he's contested a number of times, and each time, at least he was able to have a showing in certain areas without access to state resources. You know, people said that certain areas where he's forte, he would win those states hands down. We haven't seen that for many of the other candidates that have presented themselves.
Don't forget, apart from him, who had to even borrow money to pay for his ticket, he said he borrowed money from the bank to pay for the ticket. Now, other people support him who are in government using the same resources that we are talking about. It's not as if you put
Are you
the
talking about now when he's a candidate of the APC?
Even before there are people who supported. Even before there are people who finance. What you need to do is that you start checking from the resources, the financial resources of every candidate that run for election. Where does the money come from? We have seen others even traveling with the bullion van into their homes, and then people are not talking about it. We have seen it, and nobody's asking questions. And then, have you seen any bullion van in my own home? No. Where do I get it from? And so other candidates.
So you're saying you need bullion vans?
No, no, no. All I'm saying is this.
Yeah,
all I'm saying is that you can't put us together and say probably we'll perform the same way when they have access to unlimited resources.
How do you begin to convince Nigerians that it is necessary to keep this amount of parties, especially when you look at how much it costs INEC, how much it eventually affects the taxpayer who has to fund INEC?
Very good. That's a good question. This is the time. We are having state government elections and state assembly elections. And this is the time in which the Nigerians really need to show their level of commitment into our democracy. We need to go all out and vote for different political parties who have opportunities of fresh ideas to give into the system. If, for example, you have 20% of NCP, ADC, other political parties in the state assembly, the narrative will change. The governors will sit. And probably if we have governors who have been elected from different platforms, the narrative will change. And the Nigerian people will now have a better informed choice. And then later on, as it moves on, you may have a complete change even in the National Assembly and the presidency. This is the time in which Nigerians, if you think you have voted and you've come out to vote and you've performed your civic right, I think you need to double your effort now if you really want our democracy to move further than where it is.
That's definitely a fine place to leave it.
Yeah.
We have to thank you for coming on Sunrise Daily. Yunusa Tanko is the presidential candidate of the National Conscience Party. Sunrise Daily continues in a moment. Please stay with us.